Have you ever imagined a scenario where one day you receive a notice at your doorstep ordering you to report for duty? Not just you, your neighbors, your longtime friends, even your father or grandfather might receive the same notice. It sounds like something that only happens in war movies, but in the 21st century, the issue of national defense obligations is resurfacing across the world. Recently, international media outlets such as the BBC have been actively debating one question: should women be drafted? Here, we are not focusing specifically on gender equality. What truly deserves our attention is that countries that have enjoyed decades of peace are suddenly concerned about troop numbers and mobilization speed. This reveals a harsh reality. The carefree peace dividend of the past 30 years is over. Global tensions are rising, and war could break out unexpectedly. To cope with this uncertainty, global defense spending in 2024 skyrocketed to an astronomical $2.46 trillion USD. This is an enormous expense, essentially a massive insurance premium the world is paying for the possibility of future conflict. And once such vast budgets are committed, nations must re-examine one of the most crucial resources in war: manpower. In today's program, we will take a deep look at how modern states calculate, prepare for, and mobilize their citizens. A country's military strength cannot be judged solely by how many active duty soldiers it has. Certainly, military powers like the United States, China, Russia, and India have large standing armies. But real combat strength depends on their reserve forces. Those who have been trained have returned to civilian life but are still in their physical prime. In a prolonged war, these individuals are the backbone of national endurance. The number of reservists, the depth of their training, and how quickly a nation can activate them, these are the true indicators of whether a country can fight a war. For nations at risk of conflict, mobilization speed is the key to victory. Take China as an example. Its goal is rapid mobilization, known as a cold start. What is a cold start? In simple terms, it means the military must be able to switch into combat mode instantly, without warning, without lengthy preparation. Chinese military texts emphasize that victory depends on the ability to strike the enemy within minutes after a crisis erupts. To achieve this, China continues to reform its military structure and in 2023 implemented new regulations enabling the rapid recall of experienced veterans to supplement active forces, essentially maintaining a stockpile of super reserves that can deploy at a moment's notice. To put it simply, it's like judging someone's wealth not by the cash in their wallet, but by how much money they can withdraw instantly from their bank account. The bank balance represents their true financial power. Likewise, a military should not be assessed only by its active force. Its reserves are its true foundation in wartime. Next, let's talk about the legal threshold for mobilization. When can a country legally require you to go to war? And once mobilized, what exactly is the military allowed to do? The answers lie in national constitutions and security doctrines. A hot topic recently is Japan. Since World War II, Japan's self-defense forces have been strictly bound by the principle of exclusive self-defense. Think of them as a national shield, allowed only to defend, never to attack. However, as regional threats intensified, particularly the possibility of a Taiwan contingency, Japan made a historic shift in 2022. It revised its national security documents and explicitly stated it would acquire counterstrike capability. What does this mean? Previously, if a missile was fired at Japan, all it could do was try to intercept it. Now, if interception is insufficient, Japan may strike enemy launch sites proactively. This transforms the self-defense forces from a mere shield into a force that also holds a spear. The change signals a fundamental shift in Japan's national defense posture, no longer purely passive. Other countries are expanding legal boundaries as well. China's 2020 revision of its national defense law broadened mobilization grounds to include protecting the PRC's development interests. This may refer to overseas assets or Belt and Road projects, effectively lowering and blurring the threshold for conflict. This proactive legal strategy provides justification for the use of force globally. And then there is the master of legal ambiguity, the world's policeman, the United States. Whether it suspected nuclear development or drug trafficking, the US has often acted preemptively. Such freedom comes only with power and strategic ambiguity. Modern nations are increasingly rewriting laws to keep armed intervention thresholds vague, adding flexibility and discouraging opportunistic adversaries. Since military service is a legal obligation, we must confront a practical question. If I receive a mobilization order, can I refuse? What happens if I don't go? A mobilization order carries legal force. Evading it is a serious criminal offense in conscription countries. For example, in Taiwan, deliberately avoiding mobilization in peacetime can lead to up to 5 years in prison. This reflects the state's firm stance on national defense obligations. And in wartime, the enforcement becomes far more extreme. The internet is full of videos showing Ukrainian authorities taking men from the streets for conscription. You can already sense how powerful mobilization orders become when the nation is at war. Since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, Ukraine has been in continuous general mobilization. Its armed forces expanded from 246,000 personnel in February 2021 to around 700,000 by October 2022. In 2024 alone, Western and Ukrainian estimates suggest 200,000 people were drafted. Russia's mobilization has been even more chaotic. Beyond calling up reservists, the Russian Ministry of Defense actively recruited prison inmates to fight initially violent offenders, but later expanding to those with minor convictions. This extreme measure reflects the enormous losses Russia suffered. During Russia's 2022 partial mobilization, regional governments were assigned conscription quotas, leading to widespread abuse and disorganized recruitment efforts. Many reservists received only 2 weeks of additional training, well below Western standards. Still, despite relaxed criteria and chaos, legal exemptions do exist. In many countries, including health, family circumstances, and religious beliefs, can provide grounds for avoiding conscription or mobilization. For example, South Korea once imprisoned conscientious objectors, but in 2019, it established an alternative service system allowing them to serve in institutions such as prisons for 3 years without receiving a criminal record. Finally, we must emphasize how severe wartime penalties can be. Desertion or abandoning one's post can carry life, imprisonment, or even the death penalty. This shows the absolute legal red line nations draw when survival is at stake. Which countries have recently been expanding national defense obligations across society and increasing troop numbers? The answer lies in key regions of Europe and Asia. Regarding female conscription, one long-standing example is Israel. Since its founding, Israel has required both men and women to serve because national survival depends on it. Actress Gal Gadot, famous for playing Wonder Woman, served 2 years in the Israel Defense Forces. Her military photos are still widely shared online. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, European nations have become increasingly anxious about military readiness and personnel shortages. Northern Europe is leading a gender-neutral conscription movement. Norway and Sweden were early adopters, drafting women under the same legal conditions as men. Denmark followed in 2024, announcing that women would be included in conscription and extending the service term for both genders from 4 months to 11. Their framework emphasizes gender equality and national readiness. This trend raises deep questions about fairness. Supporters argue true equality means women should share both the responsibilities and privileges of national defense, helping rebalance their societal role. Critics warn that forced conscription could impose disproportionate social costs on women, such as delaying their entry into the workforce. Meanwhile, even countries that abolished conscription are rethinking. France, for instance, has no plan to restore universal conscription, but President Macron is promoting youth service programs to expand defense reserves without reinstating the old draft. In Asia, Taiwan extended mandatory service from 4 months to a full year in response to pressure across the strait. China, meanwhile, is focusing on managing experienced manpower. Its new conscription rules permit recalling former soldiers to supplement active forces, highlighting the importance it places on retaining military experience. In summary, we are entering a new era of remobilization, centered on rapid readiness. Despite advances in AI, drones, and other technologies, recent conflicts remind us that the sustainability of human manpower remains the ultimate determinant of victory. Who will defend the country? In today's geopolitical environment, the answer is no longer limited to male citizens. It is a shared civic duty. Our scrutiny of these systems will shape the resilience and fairness of our era. If we truly prepare for the possibility of war, expanded conscription becomes unavoidable. In the face of missiles and bullets, gender becomes irrelevant, especially for small nations under threat. Female conscription, student military training during school vacations, and similar measures are all potential ways to increase troop numbers when necessary. From another perspective, war may be the moment when society becomes the most gender equal, even equal among all beings, because when missiles fall, death does not discriminate.